I quit. This Impact Wrestling review was brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Try it, and at final resolution, Chavo will get the fired case! I can't go through it again. I can't. I won't. It's cruel and unusual punishment. God, what were they thinking? Why would they do this? Those sadistic fucks! No. No, I won't do it. Never again. Never again! Apparently, I'm gonna be killed if I don't review this. So, let's dive in. Something TNA seems to have a problem with is explaining the rules of things. You're making things clear where and when they need to be. And too often with this company, they'll book some kind of match or gimmick without really explaining what it means exactly, or how we arrived at this point, or just not drive home the match itself well enough. You referenced the Last Man Standing match last week, which, again, I was not aware was a Last Man Standing match until after it started. Now, they've gotten a little better about this over time, but they still need to work harder on making these things impossible to miss. That's why I was really happy to see them avoid this pitfall with Feast or Fired. I still did not want to see this match come back. As I said last week, I'm just not a fan of it. But if you're going to do it, you should at least set it up right. And TNA really covered their bases here. They had JB explain how the match worked for anyone who didn't know. They had a video package all about it. You could almost say that they went overboard with explaining how Feast or Fired works. But that's better than not doing enough. And like the match or not, by the time it started, you knew what kind of match it was, what the rules were, and what was at stake. You can say what you want about the match, but at least it wasn't confusing. As a big car wreck style match, this probably satisfied the masses. I don't know why you put Furnham and Barnes in there with the real stars, or Curryman for that matter, since he got the fired case last time, so having him in there kind of invalidates the whole thing. That was dumb. But there were some fun spots here, and it wasn't devoid of storytelling. Again, really not my cup of tea, but personal preference aside, I'm not going to shit on it too much. So our 4 winners are Ethan Carter III, Zima Ion, Gunner, and Chavo Guerrero. As long as they don't get too weird with this, like Russo sometimes would, there are some interesting possibilities here. I would hope that Ion gets the X title shot. If they gave him the tag title shot and teamed him with Kenny King, that would be cool too. But with him being with the bromance now, that's probably unlikely. Gunner could get the tag title shot or the world title shot with the storyline with James Storm. Either one would make sense. EC3 could get anything but the X title shot, and I think that would work. Even the fired case, since you could just have Dixie Carter rehire him because that's her nephew. But I think we all know that there is only one recipient here who is truly deserving of that fired case. TNA, don't let me down. Give Chavo the fired case.
Yes!
Give Chavo the fired case.
Yes!
Give Chavo the fired case.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
So if it goes down like that, it's all well and good. My main problem wasn't so much with the match, but with its placement here. You ended your final Resolution go-home show with this, and had the final confrontation between the two finalists of the World Title Tournament sandwiched in the middle of the show. That just felt completely wrong to me. After you made such a big deal out of this tournament, after you did such a good job hyping it up, you fumbled on the 5-yard line. Hardy and Magnus face-to-face should have either started the show or ended the show. The segment ending up where it was in the formats made the world title match feel a lot less important. You just had it play second fiddle to Feast or Fired of all things. And I don't even think the segment itself was handled that well, to be honest. The camera work was not especially good. I was kind of underwhelmed by the promos from both guys. We didn't get a John Cena-esque hard sell from either of them, and this segment needed something like that. So that was disappointing. And also, I've talked about this in blogs, but I don't feel like they're doing enough to put heat on Magnus going into this. No spoilers here, but if you think about it for a second, TNA's got their UK tour coming up pretty soon, and one of these guys is most likely going to be the world champion when that happens. One of them, I'm pretty sure, is still forbidden from leaving the country due to legal issues, and the other is British. So unless TNA pull a rabbit out of a hat here, you gotta figure Magnus is the next world champion. And I don't feel like they've done everything they can to get him ready for that. Now you can see the build-up here, but he's still coming in relatively under the radar, considering this is the biggest match of his life next week. You know, there's more they could have done and should have done to build heat for his character. They could have had him in a more high-profile role on the show lately, for one thing. Not that he's been hurting for screen time, but he could have been getting more focus. And unfortunately, it seemed like the main focus of this segment was to set up this crazy Dixieland match, meaning that's what ended up getting our attention instead of the character we needed to be paying attention to. And I really didn't like that. I'll reserve judgment on the match until I see it, but they made this more about the match than about the characters that are going to be in the match, and it really should have been the other way around.
Oh, you were not aware of this?
So the cat's finally out of the bag. Eric Young drops the bombshell and reveals to the whole world that Joseph Park is Abyss. Well, yeah. We already knew this. Didn't you kind of figure the jig was up when people in the crowd were chanting, "He's Abyss, he's Abyss," after the second or third time he saw his own blood and freaked out? Eric was about 18 months late to the party on this one. I really wanted to like this, but this huge revelation just did not work at all. First of all, Taz completely ruined the moment by pretty much saying that Joseph was Abyss literally seconds before Eric did. This was taped weeks in advance. I cannot believe they didn't edit that out. What an epic brain fart that was.
I got a factoid for both you guys. I got a boil on my ass.
And after Eric hit Joseph with that one, the moment was immediately ruined a second time because Tenay and Taz wouldn't shut the fuck up. Oh my god, did he just say that? What is Eric talking about? Joseph Park is Abyss? What does this mean? Shut the fuck up! Just stop talking and let the moment speak for itself. You prevent that from happening when you just yap over the whole damn thing. I mean, come on, guys, this isn't rocket science here. How many years have you been doing this? You should know when to talk and when to keep your mouth shut by now. And second of all, they played this like it was a huge surprise, but it really wasn't. And TNA had to know that. They've dropped enough hints by now to make it clear that they know that the fans know what's really been going on with Joseph. I mean, hell, they dropped another one in that pre-tape with EY and Joseph right before the match. And yet they played this up like it was some gigantic shocker to everyone, and and I don't know why they bothered. We've been waiting for this shoe to drop for like a year and a half. This was no surprise. And Tenay and Taz trying to sound surprised just made them look like idiots. The commentary was atrocious this week. Absolutely atrocious. If it wasn't Taz once again mispronouncing the wrestlers' names left and right, it was stuff like this. I thought having these guys record the commentary after the show is filmed, thus giving you the option of editing it, post-producing it, or even re-recording it if it's not good enough would make the announcing better, not worse. How on earth do you listen to the commentary in this segment and not tell them to re-record it? I mean, you're clearly post-producing the living crap out of this show anyway, so why stop there? I mean, come on, TNA, this is kindergarten stuff. And speaking of post-production, what the hell was going on with this Bully Ray promo? He pile drives Anderson on the stage, which was a much bigger deal just a few weeks ago, apparently not anymore. And then he cuts this bizarre, cryptic promo that I didn't even understand. It sounded like he was quoting scripture or something. I'm not saying it was bad. It wasn't a bad promo. It was just strange and seemed really awkward coming from Bully Ray of all people. I mean, this sounded more like something you'd give to The Undertaker.
What the fuck?
Then the mood music started, and that was when TNA unfortunately showed that they really didn't know how to make this segment work from a production standpoint. First problem. Again, TNA and Taz are talking too much. If I'm supposed to get creeped out by Bully Ray here, I need silence for that to work. It's not complicated. After the pile driver, just shut your mouths until the segment is over. Second problem, if you want to use mood music to enhance a promo like this, that can be done, but it can come off really cheesy if you're not careful. And the same rule applies. First and foremost, you need quiet. The creepy mood music really doesn't work if you can hear the hecklers in the crowd shouting their smart-ass comments and chanting, what, every time Bully Ray makes what's supposed to be a dramatic pause. What? They should have killed the crowd mic dead when Bully was talking, or at the very least, done whatever they could to mute the crowd noise in post-production. And they sort of did. I mean, the crowd noise was fading out by the end, and it was getting quieter, but the damage was already done at that point. The camera work was just okay. They really needed some close-ups. The edits were not very good. They should have been using dissolves instead of cuts. The lighting was passable, I guess. Leaving the Anderson entrance lights on instead of the house lights was a good choice. This is kind of frustrating because I see what TNA were trying to do. They were trying to create a really eerie, creepy, unsettling, disturbing sequence like something out of a horror movie or a suspense movie. But their apparent lack of understanding of everything that needs to be done to really make something like that work just made the whole thing almost come off unintentionally funny. Almost. Good performance from Bully Ray here, but production-wise, they needed to pay closer attention to the little details to really make this work. This X Division segment was confusing to me. Although I am counting my blessings that we actually got an X Division match this week. Jesus Christ, it's been a while. You have Chris Sabin versus Austin Aries, with Aries winning so he's the new champion. The match was good, but you could tell they were holding back a lot, hopefully saving stuff for the rematch. I don't have a problem with that, but the timing of the title change is really weird. You have Sabin win back the X title in the Ultimate X All-Star match at Bound for Glory, one of the biggest matches and biggest wins of his career, or so you'd think. Then nothing is ever really made of that win at all, nothing really done with him as the champion. He doesn't even appear regularly on the show, and he loses the belt to Aries in his first title defense on TV. With him losing the belt this soon, and since Velvet Sky was involved in the finish, you would think that this is what causes that relationship to finally end. There didn't seem to be any other reason to do it, and they definitely teased that afterward when Sabin confronted Aries. And hey, here's an idea. Split up Sabin and Velvet, put Velvet with Aries, have Sabin go out and find a new girlfriend, and you got yourself a great mixed tag feud right there. It would be an easy way to introduce a new knockout TNA, just saying. You just need a sexy girl that can wrestle and play a good heel. I think Cherry Bomb would be perfect for that. It's just a shame that Cherry Bomb got squashed like a meaningless jobber in Gail Kim's quote-unquote open challenge to women outside the company last week.
No, no, no.
Now, about that, it seems that the purpose of this open challenge was never to introduce the new female talent that this knockout division needs so desperately. It was simply to build up feuds for ODB and Madison Rayne. Yeah. She's back. So, instead of hiring some interesting new knockouts that you could do interesting new things with, you bring back a woman who, in her previous run in this company, never got over, never had a single standout match worth talking about, even after several years of being shoved down the fans' throats, multiple boring-ass pushes, multiple boring-ass title reigns, who has already had programs with every other woman you have except Lady Tapa, making future fresh creative possibilities limited, and who eventually just fizzled out and faded away. Why? Why would you bring her back? Was your knockout division not stale enough? Did you seriously not waste enough money on this chick the last time she was there? What fresh feuds does she even have? She can feud with Gail, she can feud with Lady Tapa, neither of which is a compelling matchup, and that is fucking it! She's feuded with everyone else, held the title like 4 times, what does she have left to do? Wouldn't it be more interesting to try somebody new instead? Are you really trying to tell me that you threw Candice LeRae and Cherry Bomb under the bus just so you could end up putting over Madison I Piss on You and call it rain? Damn you, Joffrey! Damn you, Joffrey! Okay. All right. Devil's advocate for a second. She's a babyface now, so that means that she hopefully won't be trying to make the audience deaf with her screechy promos anymore, fingers crossed. And if she's working a babyface wrestling style now, she won't have an excuse to half-ass it and be so boring and mediocre in the ring anymore, so the quality of her matches can only improve. Presumably. She did actually get a pop here. That might have been just because she was making the save for ODB and going after Gail, but it remains to be seen. Lord knows she never got over as a heel, and don't even try fighting me on that one because you will lose. But if she's changing everything about herself now, maybe things will be different. If this is a complete repackaging, who the hell knows? She got some crowd heat in her surprise return when other knockouts who are over were involved. That's one thing. Now let's see if she can get an honest, genuine crowd reaction under her own steam and prove that she can do it consistently. She could never do this before. If she can do it now, if she performs better in the ring, if she can start cutting promos that don't make my ears bleed, then maybe, just maybe, I might change my tune. Until then, though, I don't even want to think about this anymore. Fucking hell. Sign some new knockouts! There were 2 big bright spots this week, and they were really bright. First, Ethan Carter III. This dude is getting over. He's starting to draw some real heat, and is anyone really surprised? Those Impact Zone fans recognize true greatness when they see it. I mean, there's no other way to describe a man who, just days after toppling a legend like Earl Hebner in the performance of a lifetime, EC3 actually attempts to top himself once again by challenging perhaps the only man in history who could possibly offer him an even greater challenge. I would expect nothing less from the hero of heroes, the god among men that is EC3. But I have to ask a very important question. Is it lonely up there on your pedestal, Sting? You waltz out to the ring on EC3's time, you put a stop to what was about to be his match for the ages against that mythic titan Jeremy Borash, and you actually have the balls to accuse our hero of nepotism?
How dare you!
You've got some nerve, Sting. And you should count yourself lucky. You should count your lucky stars that EC3 is merciful as well as undefeatable. Otherwise, there'd be nothing left of you. And it would be exactly what you deserve.
You're nothing but a selfish prick!
Seriously, where the hell was Sting to crack down on nepotism when TNA was shoving Garrett Bischoff up our asses? Bad timing, Stinger. This was a great segment. They should have milked the Jeremy Borash thing a lot more before Sting came out, but that was probably due to a lack of time. You put Sting in there with him, and Ethan Carter did not look out of place at all. He looked right at home, like he belonged there. And holding your own in a segment with a veteran like that, that can go a really long way if they don't drop the ball with it. And if you're putting him in a position to get heat off of Sting, that's great. I mean, that's what you should be doing with a guy like Sting. And what better way to put this character on the map? He's already starting to get some momentum going. Give him some wins over Sting, and this guy could potentially get over huge. And the other bright spot this week, the star of the night, Rockstar Spud. I love this character right now. I mean, they showed all these fish out of water vignettes of him going to get the world title belt back from AJ, getting lost in Gainesville, Georgia, trying to sing at the bar, breaking into AJ's house. And this shit was funny as hell. I was cracking up watching this. They're giving him the ball and he's running with it. This character is fucking great. I don't know what's going to happen when he starts wrestling, but as a personality, as an entertainer, Spud is doing a hell of a job right now. Thumbs way up on this stuff.
The Rockstar Spud has left the building.
And there's two other positives I want to mention here. This Bobby Roode-Kurt Angle feud is awesome. Roode just keeps getting under Angle's skin, and Kurt is getting more and more outraged and determined to just prove that he can beat Roode. You see, when you have a babyface really sell the frustrations and the consequences of losses and hardships and setbacks, how much more interesting a feud can be. And then you've got WWE telling the wrestlers to no-sell all the losses and all the consequences of what happens in the ring like they mean nothing at all. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. If Angle walked to the ring smiling and waving to the crowd, saying his catchphrase, acting like nothing was wrong at all, that would have ruined the whole thing. Call me crazy, but I like it a lot better this way. Also, Dixie Carter tries to get Magnus and Jeff Hardy on Team Dixie, and the show ends on a cliffhanger with the tease that Hardy just might be interested. I don't think anyone really believes that Hardy's going to turn heel, but it did raise an eyebrow, and it was a cool little hook to go out on, so at least they're trying. This was not a bad Impact, but it was definitely a step down from recent weeks. There was some really good stuff, but also some stuff I wasn't on board with, lackluster final hype for Magnus versus Hardy, and a lot of production gaps that really hurt certain segments a lot. This was the first show where it was very obvious that they were taping several weeks of TV in one giant block. You definitely saw the cracks forming this time. Still, I am hoping for good things from Final Resolution next week. And also, hoping to have some new information about the potential sale of my YouTube channel. It's been very quiet on that front lately. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. See you then.